Hello and welcome. I'm Raziel, and honestly, I was thinking about Space Marines, and one of the most interesting part of Space Marine lore are the Geneflaws, and some have been rampant throughout their entire creation, from the Great Crusade all the way up to the end, such as you have the Red First from the Blood Angels, the Wolfen Curse of Space Wolves, and some are actually just benign and not as extremely problematic as those two are, such as this Imperial Fist's inability to spit acid, and the skin colours of the Salamanders and the Raven Guard. And then you have some Geneflaws which were affected after the Horus Heresy, such as the Black, I'm not using the name Games Workshop uses, it's a silly name, of the Imperial Fists and their successors, and the Black Rage of the Blood Angels. Now there is one, it might be a Geneflaw or something, but there is something that affects the Nightlords in particular, and doesn't affect any of the Space Marine at all, but it affects the Nightlords, and I would consider it a Geneflaw because it is unique to them, and it happened may have happened during the Horus Heresy, but most likely it happened post Horus Heresy, and that is they are afraid. They feel fear. You know, the whole Space Marine shtick of they know no fear. A spaceman will tell you that they know fear, but they just don't do anything about it. They can overcome it. It doesn't bother them. They know a bloodthirster is big and scary, you know. However, the Nightlords are afraid, and are afraid of one thing in particular. Conrad Kurtz, until he died, obviously. Up until the point he died, they were afraid of him. And that is so interesting. Now, you think of the Nightlords, you think about what they did, and what they went up against, and this is to the point where they could go to demon Primarchs, greater demons, these big, huge monsters, and they wouldn't bat an eyelid. But their Primarch? That scared them. Conrad Kurtz scared Space Marines. Now, I was trying to think of why would this be? This is an interesting thing. Why would Conrad Kurtz cause fear? Not just, they were afraid of him. It was actually straight from Conrad Kurtz's mouth. He was, my legion are afraid of me, they are broken. You know? That is exactly what he said, as in the Primarch novel book. And I was thinking, why? Now, most civilians of the Imperium were scared of Nightlords because they could see what he did, you know, with the butchery and how he would, you know, make a planet compliant and bring it down. But they didn't know what he would do. They didn't know how to act, because for him, it wasn't that the punishment fit the crime. All crimes were equal to the same punishment, and the punishment was whatever his imagination made out to be. It could have been anything, you know, from flaying alive to beheading to having your hands cut off. Basically, whatever the punishment he saw fit at the time, whether or not it fitted the crime or not. You could have, you know, you'd have some person get flayed alive for murdering someone, and you could also have someone flayed alive for stealing a loaf of bread. It was absolutely horrific and gruesome, and that was the thing. That's how he, you know, conquered planets. It was through fear. And I was thinking, okay, that's how he did it to the citizens. Why would the Nightlords be afraid of him? Now, the Nightlords were afraid of him because of the opposite. It's not they didn't know what he would do. They knew exactly what he would do. He was terrifying to him because he knew how he'd react, how he would, you know, stop it, and the punishments he inflicted upon them for not complying to his orders. He was, and then of course we know what sort of things went around his apartment, his room, his throne room, and there was an empire made of human skeletons and flesh. This stuff must have horrified any normal person, and that flesh was probably from citizens and Nightlords, basically just to make sure they were compliant. And I know people say that the Nightlords were barbaric and stuff like that because of where they recruited from. They recruited from gangs of Nostromo, and that's why they were so bad. And I was thinking about it, this doesn't actually make much sense. For a start, we have the gangs that were recruited from Catonia, and they didn't turn out this way. Maybe later on when they became the Black Legion, and Catonia was gone, and they were just using old scraps. But then at that point they weren't getting the Space Marine brainwashing. They weren't getting the enhancements from normal Space Marines, they were getting it from the warp, which of course would change the entire aspect of a Space Marine from a noble, brave warrior to a sadistic killer. And on the flip side, the Imperial Fists, spit. Sorry. The Imperial Fists recruit from Necromunda. They recruit from the gangs of Necromunda, which is one of the worst places to recruit from if you think about it. Necromunda is just the hive of villainy within the 40k. It's got a whole game and books just about how bad it is, which no other book or planet has. Armageddon's bad, yes, but we don't see how bad it is, unlike what we see from Necromunda. We know Necromunda's bad. So there you go. So the gang part doesn't really add up. You could always say like the Nostromo gangs are different because of the way it's corrupt, but Necromunda's pretty corrupt. Let's be honest. And of course the Night Haunter put fear and was a bogeyman for the kids of Nostromo. That was probably what could have helped it a lot, because they were, before even their brainwashing began, before they even went under the indoctrination of becoming a Night Lord or a Space Marine, they would already be grown up with the stories of the Night Haunter, of Conrad Curse, being this silent killer. If you do anything wrong, you will be killed. So that was an inbred fear way before they even started the process of becoming an Astartes. And while brainwashing works, things from your childhood are very hard to get away from, even in adulthood. They will still resurface years and years after. And that's probably what I think is happening with the Night Lords. It's a slower course, but Space Marines live for hundreds of years, and it slowly rises to the top. This constant subconscious fear of the Night Haunter in the back of their head, constantly just creeping forward, and finally they're like, dude, we know what this, and they've seen what he's doing. They can see what he's doing, and not only those stories and myths, what they were growing up with, which could have been easily, just swept under the rug as stories and myths. They're seeing it firsthand. It is gelling in their head. It is coalescing from these stories and myths and legends of the Night Haunter when they were young on Nostromo, finally seeing it. And it broke their brainwash, it broke their training to the point that they are now afraid of Conrad Curse. They're afraid of Night Haunter. They're more afraid of him than Hive Tyrants, Bloodthirsters, Great Unclean Ones, other Demon Primarchs. Everything the galaxy can throw at them, they're not afraid of. But their Primarch, that one person, they were afraid of him so much. And that is why I think he's probably one of the most terrifying people in 40k. Because not only did he break the Space Marine brainwashing for his own legion, but it started from when they were very, very young, when they first started learning about him and what he could do and what he would do. And then they would do exactly the same throughout. It was just something that, I think it's interesting, to be honest with you. I think it's one of the most, I like talking about the Geneflaws. I like talking about things like that. I do enjoy these little bits of lore which don't really get added up on, and coming to my own conclusion. So what do you guys think? Do you think Night Haunter is afraid? Do you think they basically, because of the stories of Nostromo prior to that, it is Nostromo. I keep thinking Nocturne, but that's Salamanders, that they grew up with, just ended up boiling forward when they see that the stories are true. So what they were afraid of may have been a legend or myth to them, but turns out to be true when they actually see the guy. Anyway, like I said, I always like hearing about your thoughts, as always. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. I should say that more often, but I just like leaving up a little thing. It's easier for me. It really is. And that's it. Oh yeah, Wailing Games, link for them down below, Forbidden Planet as well. There is my t-shirts, my comics and everything else down below. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you all again soon. And Skyforge, I'm not getting paid for him, but he's a friend of mine and I want to help him out. Bye bye.